Good evening, everyone. Good evening to all of the folks who make up our resilient and amazing learning communities. We see you, educators, students, parents, grandparents, guardians, and community members. We now officially have 1 month left in the school year, 4 weeks of hybrid learning and all its complications and joys. Families can see that summer break in front of us, and educators are pushing to make these final weeks as supportive and impactful as we can for our students. Today's updates include a health and safety report, a new UTLA member survey coming next week, and a great action this week by Reclaim Our Schools LA in support of transformational improvements to public education. Let's get into it. First, a health and safety update. From the start of this heinous global pandemic, UTLA members and the education community in LA have been clear in our message. The safety of our students, their families, and the most vulnerable in this county must be put first, and that has not changed. I know there is a lot of discussion about the new CDC's recommendations this week on masks. Let me be clear. The CDC advice does not override mask orders issued by states, counties, or our bargaining agreement with LAUSD. Masks are still required in LA schools, and they are a part of how we keep our communities safe. Children under 12 currently do not have access to the vaccine, and the troubling racial disparity in vaccination rates persists, with Black and Brown residents continuing to be vaccinated at lower rates than other residents. We fought hard for the highest safety protections in the country, and now we work collectively to make sure they are followed each day. Our UTLA chapter leaders, board members, and area reps are staying in close contact on reopening issues, and the number of serious problems related to critical protocols remain very small. And we are looking toward the new school year and what teaching and learning could look like. We are back in bargaining with the school district on this point. Well, I should not say back in bargaining, because truly we have never left. Bargaining with LAUSD has been nonstop since last March because the moment has demanded it. It is our hope that all schools will be able to physically open 5 days per week in the fall, but local conditions will determine whether that is possible. UTLA educators will be laser focused, ensuring we uphold necessary health and safety standards, and that the voices of our most vulnerable students and their families are heard. Next week, we are launching a new UTLA member survey to get feedback on the critical issues informing our reality right now. The survey will check in on how you are feeling about the safety protocols we negotiated and how they are being implemented at school sites. There will be questions on how hybrid learning is going and what has been the most challenging aspect of the physical reopening of schools, including childcare issues. And we will be looking at the most effective ways to spend the infusion of funding coming to LAUSD, such as accelerated class size reduction, hiring additional counselors, psychologists, teacher librarians, school nurses, PSAs, and PSWs, and expanding the community schools model. What we will have the most impact on our students as we address the disruptions to learning and pandemic-related trauma. So UTLA folks, look for the survey next week via email. We have been getting big turnouts for these surveys all through the past year. Your feedback shapes our bargaining and organizing and our fight forward for a healthy, healing, and equitable return. One bright spot is that resources and support for public education are coming. Governor Gavin Newsom released the May revision of his budget today, and there's welcome focus on early education and public schools. Since we talked last week, the amount of money coming to LA schools for pandemic recovery have jumped to more than $2 billion. In my 27 years as a teacher in Los Angeles, I have never seen this kind of funding. This one-time investment is supposed to go to counter disruptions to learning, update school buildings, educational enrichment for our most vulnerable students, and make public education better in our new normal. And that is what we are fighting for. If funding choices do not meet the social and emotional needs of students and families that have dealt with actual loss over the past year, then we are missing the mark. The community group Reclaim Our Schools LA launched a budget campaign this week calling for LAUSD to use the pandemic recovery funding to build safe and racially just public schools. Parents, educators, and community members rallied outside LAUSD headquarters to demand bold action to fund the supports our students and families need to recover from the COVID crisis and to reverse decades of underfunded schools. Safe and racially just schools mean resources for students and families hit hardest by the pandemic and the supports they need, such as more counselors and psychologists and smaller class sizes that will allow educators to give more individual support to students who need to process academically, socially, and emotionally from the fallout from this global health crisis. A big shout out to rally speakers Malia from Hamilton High School, a youth leader with Students Deserve, and to parent leaders Jan Williams, Elizabeth Hernandez, and Eloisa Galindo. At the rally, Eloisa pointed to the Beaudry building and demanded that the school board make funding choices that center student well-being and success. She called out the decades of underfunding that have failed our youth and said that now with the new money, we can dream big and transform our schools. Yes, Eloisa, we will fight forward together. Now, a huge congratulations to the new wave of National Board certificated teachers. Due to the pandemic, National Board certification came in 2 waves this school year. This spring, 84 LAUSD educators earned certification, joining 46 LA educators from the first wave in December. That is a total of 130 newly certified LAUSD educators in the NBC class of 2020. Every year, LAUSD has among the biggest and the most diverse classes of new NBCTs. That is something to brag about. I was fortunate enough to attend the ceremony on Tuesday, and it was truly inspirational that these 84 newly minted NBCTs did this coursework during a global pandemic. Fantastic job, you all. UTLA has actively supported the MBCT process for many years now, and our UTLA building is home to the Support Network, a collaborative UTLA LAUSD program that offers facilitated workshops and peer support for MBCTs. Educators who go for national board certification must dig deep to test their practice against the highest standards in the nation. If you have ever known someone who has gone through the MBCT process, you know it is grueling and intense professional development experience. To take on this challenge during a disruptive pandemic, well, that takes an extra amount of tenacity and commitment, and we recognize you. Congratulations to the MBCT class of 2020. And more news about excellence in education. Math teacher and UTLA member Stephanie Paris from Granada Hills Charter High School is one of the 6 finalists from California for the 2021 Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. State Superintendent Tony Thurmond announced the finalists this week and honored them for their exceptional work. Stephanie was singled out for an Algebra 1 lesson exploring exponential functions and patterns of growth and decay for interdisciplinary lessons merging math and science, and for helping other teachers create virtual math lessons and build community during distance learning. Even though the challenges of remote learning and the COVID-19 pandemic, educators continue to find ways to bring out the curiosity, excellence, critical thinking, and problem-solving abilities in students. Great work, Stephanie. We're proud of you. Now, some somber news. In April, just 1 week before the staff went back to school, Mayall elementary teacher Natalie Zuletta passed away. She was 43 years old. Natalie's friends say that she was born to be a teacher. Her mother was a speech pathologist and special education teacher at Harding Street Elementary School in Sylmar. Her father was a psychology professor for Cal State LA. While born to teach, Natalie studied theater at Humboldt State University and graduated from UCSB in 1999 with a film studies degree. In 2005, she was hired to teach 3rd grade at Cantera Street Elementary in Reseda. Students, staff, and parents immediately fell in love with Natalie's warmth, compassion, patience, clarity, and creativity. In 2015, Natalie took her talents closer to her home to Mayall Elementary School. Mayall was impressed with her acting and directing background, which she quickly utilized in directing amazing student musicals and performances. Mrs. Zuletta students thrived in her classroom. Natalie's magical mix of kindness, calming energy, sweet spirit, love, and humor added to her intellect and stellar teaching ability to make her an absolute star. Natalie's greatest talent was bringing confidence and light to students who struggled with challenges at school or at home. Natalie was also a very passionate union member, often volunteering for phone banking and precinct walking for issues and candidates in support of public education. Natalie is survived by her husband, Percy, her son, Joel, and a fleet of family and friends. We mourn this loss with the Cantera Street and Mayall families. I will close with this. We have been in COVID crisis mode for so long, it is easy to forget that nothing prepared us for teaching, learning, and living during a pandemic. Stress levels have remained high as we navigate the ever-shifting challenges. Our health and human service professionals know this and see this on a regular basis. It is part of the fantastic work they do every day as a team to support our school communities. This month, to mark May as Wellness and Mental Health Month, our HHS folks are doing a series of hashtag Wellness Wednesdays posts to uplift best practices and the absolute necessity to take care of ourselves. We will share a few on the screen, and I hope you find inspiration. At times, it can feel like taking care of yourself is just another thing on your to-do list. But it is so essential. My son Giovanni has asked for a movie binge this weekend, some walking, of course, and I will put my phone away, both of them, in a drawer and make that happen for him. Rest and replenishment are necessary. Uninterrupted time with family and friends is necessary. Until next time, get some much needed rest. Try not to do too much. Laugh and stay strong. Stay UTLA strong, because together we rise.